What improved your quality of life so much, you wish you did it sooner? Eating healthy. It's amazing after you realize how much you feel like shit after you just took down a double cheese burger, extra large fries, and a large Coke. But at the time, you don't realize it and just think you're tired. Good eating habits and exercising changed my life. Seeing a therapist. My dad died when I was 16 and I never saw or really talked to anyone about it till I was in my 30s. So many years wasted being angry and sad. Quitting smoking. I couldn't imagine life without it back then. But man, is life better without a constant need like that. Not to mention all the health benefits. Sleeping when I'm sleepy. Learning to be okay with saying no, and starting off all relationships, personal and professional, with healthy boundaries. You don't ever need an excuse to say no to if you don't want to do something. Don't feel like going out with friends that night? Asterisk no thank you. Asterisk. Don't want to work an extra shift at your place of employment if it's not mandatory? Asterisk no thanks boss. Asterisk. Boundaries are amazing. And when set from the beginning, they are much easier to maintain for your own mental well-being. Asterisk asterisk edit asterisk asterisk. Well, this has become my highest upvoted comment. Thanks to everyone who responded with stories related to boundary setting. And stay strong if you still struggle with this. Working from home in IT. Fuck. This environment and industry fit me like a glove. What's a completely normal word that annoys you every time you hear it? Penetration. It was a friend's pet peeve. And her friends knew it. So they were at a restaurant teasing her about words she didn't like. They were getting her riled up and were trying to remember which word it was. Finally they remembered it. But to avoid them bugging her more, she loudly replied, "I don't mind penetration." The older lady behind her replied, "Oh. That's nice, dear." Orgasmic. I have a client at work who says everything is orgasmic, and after 10 minutes I never want to hear that word again. Preggers. I hate preggers. Wow factor. It's lazy and I've heard it misused too many times to count. Hubby. I don't know why, but I just hate that word. I really hate when I am reading reviews for a pair of shorts or something and the review is bought for hubby and he loves it. Quote. IDKY. Just drives me bonkers. Cyclery. I'm not totally sure this is a word, but it is way too hard to say. Just say bike shop instead. What do you think is the worst method of torture? My vote goes out for the goats. You take rope and tie someone to a chair. Strap them down so that they move their legs or arms, then take a big bucket of saltwater, then dip their feet in it. Leave them like that for about a day with their feet just soaking in saltwater. Once the day is up, kick the chair over so their feet are up in the air. Then bring in a goat. It'll find his salt-soaked feet and start licking. And it won't stop licking. It'll keep licking past the flesh and muscle all the way down to the bone. And you know what doesn't get bored? A goat licking salt. You can scream and try to kick, but that persistent salt licker won't give up. It will just stand then on all fours and lick at your feet with a coarse tongue for hours. The worst part is it's just the victim and a goat in a room. Nobody to plead with, or confess to, or bargain with. Just a goat that likes salt. That goat would be the most dedicated, hardworking, and empathetic torturer you've ever seen. The ancient Egyptian thing where they force-feed you milk and honey, giving you profound diarrhea, then tying you onto a canoe and sending you out on the water. Insects are attracted and you are eaten alive by them and their offspring. It takes a while, so I think there are scheduled feedings of milk and honey to keep the diarrhea going. Being skinned alive is a terrifying experience. Bamboo torture. Some bamboo species can grow up to 4 km per hour. You can only imagine the level of pain of a bamboo growing through your internal organs while you are tied up, unable to do anything. Read this one in a green text. Roughly. Make a room with no exit from the inside. No windows. Make the floor a conveyor belt, lined with rough sandpaper. Have it move slowly, 24/7. They will have to walk all the time until they fall asleep or collapse. Then they will get dragged to the wall, and the belt will scrape their body and they wake up and keep walking. This will continue until they die of either exhaustion or blood loss. Scaphism. The victim would be trapped between two boats, covered with milk and honey, and be devoured by insects. Taxi drivers. What's the deepest secrets you've overheard in your car? I worked incident support for a kinda shouldn't name ride company that rhymes with Schuber. It tended to be either rider complaining a driver did X to them or a driver complaining a rider threw up in their car, etc. This one dude called incident support to tell us that following picking up a fare, a dude with 2 huge duffel bags in the boot, his car was written off and therefore couldn't work with aforementioned car. Turned out the dude had gotten a ride at 2 a.m. Put the duffel bags in the trunk. Told the driver he'd done something he really regretted but couldn't go back on. Took the ride to an underpass with a river and threw the duffel bags into the river. Driver called the police first, mostly to tell them a dude was being weird as hell. After a brief search of the river for the bags, the police found rider's murdered cut-up girlfriend in the bags. The smell was so bad in the car that the cleaning crew couldn't remove the smell or stains after the police forensics exam. The insurance company wrote off the car. Edit. Thank you for the silver stranger. An 18-year-old lad, regular customer, was stressing over his exam results and told me seriously if he'd failed that his life was over and he would commit suicide. He was completely serious. Apparently his parents had been putting string pressure on him. I brought him home and called his father out of the house. By this time the poor lad was in tears. I said to him that he should tell his dad what he'd told me. By this time the father was distraught. I let them both talk for a bit right there, and then the father got him out of the car and brought him inside. The update was that he told his parents the whole story. They were horrified and got him into therapy. I've no idea whether he passed the exams or not, but I do know he was all right afterwards. I was very shook up about it. The situation could easily have gone wrong, and I take no credit at all. That he was cheating on his wife with his cocaine dealer, who came from the same country as I did. Which is how the conversation got started. And it had been going on for 25 years. I don't know what impresses me more, a 25-year affair or a 25-year cocaine habit. Edit. To clarify, since a lot of you are speculating, the dealer was a woman. Quite good in bed too. From his detailed description, it was my first fare of the night. The first time working there as a cab driver. I was helping out a friend of my dad's who owned a bar deep in Ontario, CA, by driving his regulars home. Fun times. Lot of fights. Incredible amounts of shenanigans between the patrons. And incredibly loud corridos blasting from the speakers all throughout the night. Uber driver, but a few discussions about terminal illness. Their own or a friend or relatives. 2 different women had been sexually assaulted prior to getting in, and had quite emotional discussions about it. A couple of musings on life, conversations that kinda twigged my suicide detecting spidey senses. But who knows? Also one passenger mused on an abusive upbringing. We went on a somewhat disappointing date after actually people planning a murder at the location I'm dropping them off. Told them to get out and left them. My uncle was a cab driver in LA. One day he picks up two guys who then discuss a murder they are going to commit. After a while they begin discussing whether they should also kill the cab driver because he heard them talking about the plan and could identify them. They eventually decided not to. But that was the day my uncle decided to stop being a cab driver.
Subscribe, my brothers.